Hello.
Hey,
What's up?
how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Is it cool if I'm just already recording?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Okay, sick. How's it going?
It's pretty good. Starting my day. I'm actually doing another podcast later today.
Oh my God, what's that one?
It's called The Best Show. They tape
Okay,
out in North Hollywood and they have many of our contemporaries play some songs and then do a little interview.
sick. That should
Yeah.
be fun.
Yeah. What's up with
Nice.
you?
Not too much. My week is off to a good start. I feel like I am trying out leave-in conditioner for the first time ever.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can't tell yet if it's like ruining everything or if it's actually good for me.
Is it like the spray? Is it like a spray or is it like goo
Yeah. Yeah, it's
spray?
it's a spray, thankfully. And
Yeah.
Carol was like, you can just put a little in your hand and then like rub it
Yeah.
together and kind of then get your hair with it.
Totally.
But
That's
yeah, I
cool.
never know with that stuff. Like, am I doing too much or too little? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel you. I have a leave-in conditioner that I just spray on like right when I get out of the shower while my hair's still wet, and then
Okay,
it
yeah.
then when my hair dries, it's also dry. You know?
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, a non-music related question that I wanted to ask you off the bat. I've been informed by Carol that your tweet went viral where you were sharing the feminist theory.
Yeah. No, it was like really honestly like sweet, and then it like got dark really fast. You know,
It
like
got dark?
well, just like Twitter is a little bit of a cesspool, and everyone is on there just like to fight if there's any sort of tweet with
Okay.
visibility.
Yeah.
So I tweeted a screenshot of this comment that Maddie found in the Bachelor Reddit that was like a quote about basically about how like men, like straight men reserve like admiration and respect and like true like capital L love only for other men, and that like their relationships with women are more centered on sex and possession and like
In like servitude.
yeah, and a little bit of like putting her on a pedestal but in a way that like suits his status. This is straight men only. And
Yeah.
but then there
I feel like I witnessed a little bit.
well,
Okay, but
this
yes.
piece of theory was you know qualifying that, which like also became like sort of a point of contention in my Twitter comments. But basically, I screenshotted it and I was like, "Not me, learning feminist theory from the Bachelor Reddit."
Yeah.
And then I logged out, and then like later that night, I looked and it had like 80,000 likes, and I was like, "Oh
my
my
God.
God!" And it was all these like OnlyFans girlies being like, "Yes!" And I was like, "Wow, amazing!" And then I went to sleep, and I woke up the next morning, and the like count had doubled. It was like 150,000 or whatever, and it was all
Wow.
like horrific misogynists and people liberally using language that no one should say, and like
No, wow.
you know, it like immediately became like kind of scary, and I turned comments and notifications off.
Oh, I'm so sorry it ended so poorly.
Yeah, I mean, it was like definitely fun. Like Julia Fox shared it, and like, you know, like kind of some like interesting, you know, internet inner workings revealed themselves to me. Although I will say the amount of like increase on the album, I dropped the album link below it,
Yes,
and
yeah, like might as
there was
well
a zero
check this.
0% increase.
We hate that.
Yeah, but you know, that's how it goes. Like,
Yeah.
a friend of mine had a Instagram reel go viral of a cat. This woman had her cat in the park and was brushing her cat in public, and my friend filmed it and then asked if she could post it, and it went mega viral with like her song in the background, and it similarly did
nice.
not move the needle.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say now she's getting sued by the cat, actually, not even the old lady.
Right, the cat is union, so
Yeah, the cat's union. I'm also interested. Wait, so it was posted on the Bachelor Reddit thread, or a Bachelor themed Reddit thread. So it's like, was someone just dropping that there to be like, by the way, like, 'cause
yeah.
I was gonna ask about your relationship. Like, I know you're a fan of the show. I haven't
Yeah.
seen much of it, but and those are my legs. Well, it's a good thing I'm wearing pants. That would be like a crazy reveal.
Yeah,
You're
casual
like,
Tuesday.
oh, Yeah. I was going to ask like what your relationship to The Bachelor is as a fan of it. Is it like to kind of keep your finger on the pulse of like straight America, or
That's a hilarious reason to be in touch with The Bachelor. But
people love it. It's so popular.
people love it. I've been like kind of an unashamed fan since college for some reason. I love it. And like, it's real, like it feels like an amazing social experiment. And like, there's so many funny and fun ways to just like engage with it and like see it as like what it is, but also like kind of a deeper, like more sinister social experiment. And then also to shout out another podcast called Game of Roses. They kind of gamify the whole thing and they speak about it as if it was like fantasy football or something. So it like has become this like extended universe that me and Maddie and a couple of our friends, Brian and Christina, just like have been deeply engaged in for whatever reason in the last like handful of years. And we ended up going to the live taping of the finale.
Right. I mentioned
which was crazy. But basically, this comment, I think, originally was posted by whoever originally dropped it in Reddit because the finale was quite upsetting, I guess. And
okay, like triggering to some people or upsetting to the contestants?
I think both. Like they ended up breaking up already, and like there's been like a lot of like weird like allegations flying around about who ended up being the final two guys. And so I think the comment was really saying about how like the other contestants, how quickly they came to like be a support for the guys who like were receiving a lot of internet backlash as opposed to like support for this woman who like, you know, essentially got played by the finalist and then had to like rewatch her proposal on live television.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, so that's my deep, way too long Bachelor fandom history.
That's the show dive on The Bachelor. That's your
this is the show dive in the show dive in the song dive.
Nice.
What's up with you?
I don't know. I mean, I'm excited that we released our first episode yesterday.
Yeah.
And I just announced my album release show in New York City.
Yay.
Which I'm stoked for. It's October 4th.
Where?
It's a Friday. It's at Cassette, which is a venue space in Ridgewood. It's like probably my favorite intimate venue space.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for that. But other than that, just getting through the week, I'm thinking about doing like a live stream of a mix. I asked this band if I could live stream while I'm working on their thing. Yeah, because I want to get that. I want to like feel that pressure of like you're being watched. Because I want to try and like learn to trust my instincts better and like work on the fly.
Awesome. That's so
anyways,
cool.
Yeah, so I think that could be fun. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you want to jump into songs 2 on each of our records?
Yeah. Should I start? I feel like maybe we should flip back and forth since last time we got to go so in depth about my song first.
Sure.
So maybe I'll jump in on your song first this week.
Okay. Sick.
Radio Shower.
Yeah.
Song 2 on your album.
I think it's my favorite song on that.
Great song. And it came out 2 weeks ago? Last week?
2 weeks ago?
Nice. So it's
I don't know.
Well, it is either whenever it came out, it is listenable. So if you're watching this, you can also listen to this song already, which I feel like is a huge benefit to like, you know, like the song we talked about last week isn't out. So it's kind of like we're talking about something that people can't conceive yet necessarily. Yes. But this one you can go listen and follow along. It's a great, it essentially is like now starting the, like, you know, last week the intro track was a bit of like a prologue. Or was that epilogue? Prologue.
No, prologue.
And
I have like some confidence in that.
Yeah. And then it drops right into Radio Shower.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump around in my questions here.
Okay. Yeah. Sure thing.
Actually, let's start linearly across the scope of the song. There's 2 seconds at the top of the song that have like a really cool drum intro.
Yeah.
And I was kind of curious how you made that and what were the thoughts behind that little, you know, it kind of drops in and has this very like interestingly produced drum space and then goes away.
Yeah. The concept for having an intro just came from me wanting to have an intro in the song. I feel like so many of the songs that I make come from me on a guitar, and then I'm like, and the song just starts with me on a guitar, and then everyone like layers in. And I just, especially for this record, I wanted to, even if that was going to be like the crux, like the heart of each recording, I wanted it to have like a way to get into the song and be a little bit more interesting, maybe catch your ear in a fun way. So the intro sound is like this drum. I took some part of the drum kit, I forget like where in the song it was playing, but I ran it through a crystallizer, which is like, I know you know what that is, but for anybody who doesn't know, it's like a delay plugin that, when it like can modulate the signal in really interesting ways, like pitch octaves up and down, and it has really cool like recycle features where it continues almost like on a feedback loop. But feel free to jump in on that description, because I'm not exactly like, I know it's just like kind of a magic plugin to me.
Yeah, I mean that is what it does. That's like that's exactly it.
Yeah, I'm sure you can use it in like other ways, but anyways, so I have it kind of like mid-pass to sound kind of telephonic. So like when things start that way, and I don't know, yeah, so it's just that, and then the way that it like recycles with its feedback set up kind of high, it reminds me of like somebody shuffling a deck of cards, and they shuffle and then they go like what would they like pull away? I don't know what that's called. Do you know what that's called?
I'm not a magician. I have no idea.
Not a magician. Yeah, well, it's like, I don't play cards or do magic. Yeah. But like when they go like, and it like fans out. Anyways, that's what the drums remind me of. So that's that. And then, and then it just kind of starts, like, it kind of like blooms and then goes small for a second. So. Yeah.
So you pulled that just from something later in the, like you didn't have somebody play into that. You just like grabbed a little clip and put it at the top.
I grabbed it. I've been doing that so much in like all the music I've been working on for various projects. Like if I feel like the song just like starts and it's not that interesting of it or exciting of a start, I will like try to create something that just kind of like catches your ears in a fun way and like opens you up to like what could happen. Kind of a foreshadowing, but this one's even more surreal because it never really gets to that place of like how crazy it sounds in the beginning. But
totally. Yeah. I think it's such a cool trick, and like, because we work with our computers in addition to, more traditional like recording style equipment, we're able to like do that, in a cool way.
Yeah.
That doesn't take 8 hours like it would with tape.
Right. No, it's like I don't even know how that would work with hardware, but I'm so computer based. I don't always want to be, but it's just like, that's just like what ends up happening oftentimes. And so I oftentimes will have like some crazy digital tools at my disposal, and end up coming up with some like ridiculous stuff sometimes, but it's usually pretty fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Once you're jumping into this song, you do something really cool that I feel like I've never been able to like successfully do, which is just like kind of have a very simple 2-chord progression and like let it ride. And like, I don't think it ever really strays from that, even going from section to section. But the melody is still really interesting and complex and like, again, I mean, this is like, I don't know if there's like any way to describe like your process with this, because I feel like some of this is just like, I just like wrote a thing and it sounded good like that, and I was just curious sort of like how you like keep people interested and like write over sort of a static chord progression, but make the sections feel different and make the melody feel like it's going somewhere.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for being complimentary of it. I think, it is definitely just like a guitar part I was playing that was easy to sing over. Yeah. I'm trying to be a little less complex on the guitar lately, because I've noticed it really frees up like my brain to be able to do more vocal work. And so I wanted a song where like a focal point was really just like the lyrics, and I wanted something impressionistic and kind of abstract So that's what I set out to do with the like songwriting portion. And then I think that informed the chords in the sense of like, I didn't want anything to be distracting, and I didn't want to be introducing too many colors in like chordally or harmonically. I didn't want to just basically distract, you know, from the lyrics. Yeah, and it was inspired. This like tuning is weird. I use it
Drop the tuning.
Drop the tuning. Yeah. It's like it's C sharp, G sharp, C sharp, F sharp, G sharp, C sharp. So there's only 3 different distinct notes, but then it's like capo 4, and live I've been playing at capo 6.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, which is like silly, but it's easier to play because it's tiny. Yeah. But yeah, it's oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, it was inspired by like 90s alt stuff like Red House Painters or like Low. I felt like
awesome.
I don't even know what else, but yeah, it's just like that sort of airy tuning sound, or it's like sounds like glassy to me.
Yeah,
it's kind of like suspended chord. I don't really know what the chords are at all, which makes it hard when you're trying to tell someone like, can we play this together, like in
yeah
your room? But
I
we
feel
figured
you.
It out.
Yeah, it is like all that sort of suspended tuning stuff, like it's like weirdly tricky to then like I feel like communicating to a bass player like who's gonna I guess perceivably play like the roots, and you're like, I mean, it could be, you could make this chord feel rooted in a number of notes, you know,
which is really fun. Like I feel like thinking of, you know, conceptualizing a bass guitar as only an instrument that holds down the root note all the time is like really static. It just feels boring. And I feel like I remember hearing an interview of like somebody in the National, I think it was Aaron Dessner, and he was talking about how like when they're figuring out bass parts, they just like don't tell the bassist what the chords really all are, and they're just like, you know, figure out something that you like. And I like that really stuck with me, and so definitely have that approach. And like when Maxwell's, you know, figuring out the bass part, and then we like collab on it and, you know, ask questions and have a conversation. But like, yeah, it's really fun to like have some mystery and have that be introduced like inherently by a strange tuning.
Yeah. Well, I guess speaking of Maxwell, who's playing on this record? Like, who? Let's get the cast of characters. Like, who's on this song? Are they on all the other songs? Did you go to a bunch of different people for this record, or did you just like go into the studio with the same live band? Like, who's playing?
Yeah. I mean, there's some really great buddies on this record. There are really not that many different people who have played on it. It's a shorter record. But like with this song, I think Maxwell played bass on pretty much the whole record. His name is Maxwell Zakakis. We've been playing together for a couple years. He's like one of my closest friends. I love him so much. And yeah, so he played bass guitar live, and he tracked that while my friend Patrick Freeman tracked the drums. And we recorded them at Alex Harwood's space in Brooklyn. And Alex played guitar on some other songs, but we ended up stripping away a lot of the like electric guitar layers that we had initially recorded. The song was way more lush, or it just had a lot more going on. And I ended up kind of in the end, just like in the beginning, like starting from a place of minimalism, mostly because Carol was like, my partner was like, this sounds great, but like it's almost a little distracting from the lyrics and the heart of the song. And I agreed for sure. I had to hear someone else say that, whose opinion I really trusted, you know? So I got a little carried away before that with like, this song went through like 29 mixes or something. Like it was absolutely ridiculous. It was just bonkers. Like I kind of went mad working on it. Yeah. And yeah, I think a lot of the issue was that I was trying to stuff like too much information into it, when again, I mentioned that the like concept for the song was that it was going to be lyrically oriented. And so it didn't help to have a bunch of melodies going in there. Yeah.
Got it.
Sorry.
No. Did you engineer, produce, mix, and master?
So we did drums and bass in Alex's space, and he definitely facilitated the engineering there. We didn't go in with much, but he used a really interesting mic technique that I can't exactly remember, but it was like super wacky as far as he had kick snare, like some direct mics. He had room mics, but it was for the overheads. Like, I think there was one like on the top and like behind it was very strange. I have to like look it up, and I can like put, you know, the name or the screenshot of it like
Glyn Johns, perhaps?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so he was really into that, and I was open to it. And then like the vocals and most of the guitars I redid just in this very room with this mic. It's a advanced audio CM12. Like Sam Skinner lent it to me.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, just so I'd have like another option because I like the way my voice sounds with it. So.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's Alex Harwood, Patrick Freeman on drums, and then Maxwell Zakakis on bass, and that's pretty much it.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. So let's see. What do I have? With these folks, do you like rehearse ahead? Like, are you bringing a finished song to your rhythm section and being like, let's work this out? Are you like, or how specific do you get in orchestrating people's parts? I know you play everything also, as in that you are also a drummer and can play bass. And like, so how much of this is you like letting the band interpret? Do you even show it to them ahead of time, or are you just in the studio and you're like, here's a new one? What is the process with like pre-production on a song like this?
Yeah, it's fun that you asked because with this song in particular, I think I wrote it like the day before. I finished writing it the day before that we went in to record other songs. And I sent them like a voice memo that morning because I wanted to try and get, like we talked about this in the last episode or we just mentioned it, like kind of spirit of improv.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to capture their initial responses as much as I could to this song and see what they went with intuitively because, and this is nothing against the specific people, but at least for myself, I can overthink something if I'm in the studio and have like infinite takes and have known it for months. You just can get in your head about it sometimes. And I more so as an experiment, just wanted to see what they would come up with, like, after having just heard it that morning. And that turned out to be like way more time consuming than I maybe thought because like it does have, it's like in terms of learning the structure and brainstorming what we could do with the arrangement, like that actually takes more time. So it was a bit naive. I maybe could have sent it to them a little earlier, but we definitely spent some time, especially with the drums, just being like, we want it to be really simple and noticing how like fills with many drummers, fills just happen naturally. I don't know, at least you're just like having fun and you're like, I want to do fill here and there's space here, so I'm going to do it. But we were like, okay, now can we please get a take where there's like no fills or like there's like extremely simple fills and they're sparse. And so that's what we ended up like going with was just like so minimal. Yeah, just wanted to try and do something new and like, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I always feel like anytime I'm like asking people to come in the studio, I'm like, come through, like be yourself, you're such a great musician. And then like an hour into recording, I'm like, can you just do like 50% of what you're playing, like play like way less and just like don't do anything other than this one thing? And then it's like, why did I ask this poor person to come be themselves?
Yes, I feel super annoying when that stuff happens. But I think everyone had a good time doing it because I can totally relate. But I think like hopefully the people you're working with enjoy that collaborative process and are like totally willing to try new things and to be open to direction. It's certainly something that I want to do. Like I was recording on guitar on a friend's record on Sunday and I did a similar thing. Like I kind of just showed up and I had like the chords on an iPad and I was like reading along and playing and and then I was like, tell me whatever I should change, like trying not to have too much like ego attached to anything and just being like, how do I serve this song in your vision? So I think like I'm super lucky to work with people who are very song oriented and they really like honor and respect whatever the heck it is that we're trying to do as a group.
That's so cool. It's hard. I mean, playing behind a singer is such a tricky thing, especially, like I think we know a lot of musicians that probably come from a background, a heavily musically educated background. And, like they have performed in spaces where they are like, the goal is to like be a top tier instrumentalist. But then when you're playing behind a project like yours, it's like that actually isn't the most important part anymore of the musicianship, Yeah,
totally.
It's like more about supporting your song.
The term unlearning comes to mind when you're talking about that because it's like so much, you've built a repertoire, you probably just want to use like your favorite paintbrushes and your favorite colors by default perhaps. like when I'm drumming, I love to like do groovy stuff. Like I could give a shit about like indie rock style drumming when I get a chance at a drum kit. I'm just like, I love like ghost notes and like, I don't know, I love like halftime stuff, which a lot of my song does actually draw, or a lot of my music draws from that, like halftime stuff, but it definitely doesn't like groove the same way. So yeah, I'm really glad that like everybody was down to kind of just like take a chill pill or something and like just listen to what's going on and kind of just like sit back, you know. I was like just like try to relax and yeah, I don't know, yeah, so
Cool.
yeah.
Well, I had one more question, which again is like a little bit of like an annoying question, I think, just because like you said, such an abstract song, and there's so much like visual metaphor in the lyrics. There's a lot of like kind of interesting sensory moments that you are illustrating for people. But I did want to just bring attention to the sort of apex line, the title line. Dodge the strollers and indie rock cowards, meet you in the radio shower. And I was just like, that's so sick. And like, it means something. It feels emotional. And I'm also like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. That's fair. I think that's fair.
But I love it. And I want to know more about what it means.
Yeah, totally. So that comes from the second verse of the song. And a lot of that was sort of text scribbled down, if there's a word for that, just mashing my thumbs really quickly in a notes app. And some of these lines are quite literal, but I was trying to like angle them and like position them in ways and surround them with other words that were more impressionistic or figurative or like colorful, so that it wasn't just like I'm walking down the street. So anyways, I went to meet Caro and our other friend Bridget like after I got off work. And it was like literally 13 blocks away. So it's kind of far to walk after like you just came off a shift and I was really hungry. But I'm walking like super fast and just again, just like head down, just like feeling things. I don't really know. I guess my mind was just going that day. And yeah, I definitely like passed by people like in a park, and like the New York streets can get so crowded, even the sidewalks. So you're constantly having to like bob and weave in and out of people who are going either way. There was like a person with their stroller and their child in the stroller, and I like had to like really duck out of the way for that. And I just started like thinking about that in a more metaphorical context of like, or even like existentially, like I know that I'm entering my 30s like in like 6 months. And that's like definitely a period where like a lot of people I have known are like having conversations about like having kids and just other like getting dogs, like bringing life into the world and like fostering life, which is so beautiful. And like something my partner and I have talked about is not being interested in children. Just for us personally, I'm like, I would love to be like a badass aunt.
Yeah, right.
So anyways, dodge the strollers is just like stay on course literally, but also in an existential sense of like, just remember like what's important to me and maybe don't necessarily have to, you know, compare yourself to other people's visions for what they want out of their life. Anyways, and then meet you in a radio shower was like, there's so much inundation of technology, and I felt like we're all being like constantly swarmed with messages and notifications and electronic tasks that we have to complete. And that to me felt like a radio shower. There's some sort of like radio signals. I don't really understand like how that technology works in terms of like satellites and everything. Like that's not radio, I guess, or maybe it is. But yeah, like that's my way of saying like, there's like little signals flying around everywhere, and we're just gonna be sort of existing in this dome of like these invisible signals flying around and like changing discourse forever, kind of.
Totally.
And, you know, connecting a lot of people. And it's like, so it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is inevitable in how like technology is kind of all around us at this point.
That's cool.
So
I love
the
double entendre, like radio shower just by itself. Like I'm thinking of the like in my mind, I'm thinking of they used to make like a little FM radio that you can like suction to the wall, you know, in the shower.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that it kind of like feels like both Like it obviously means something like far deeper than that, but like visually I'm like thinking of that little thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like I think I wanted to create something open to interpretation. So like my goal is that it would potentially be able to mean something different for each person who listened to it. It's more of like a dialogue. And so I was just trying to make something that felt more of like a dialogue with a listener.
It's so cool. It reminds me of like sort of like early Wilco, like the way he sort of like paints a lot of words together that like it's like that sound really good, and like you're like, what is he talking about? But then it like does actually like kind of mean something, presumably to him, but also like then to us it could mean something or feel a certain way, you know, without it being so literal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, would love to switch gears into the second song on your record,
Sure,
which is called I Would Like Still Love You, which is a super fun track. It like always makes me smile when I hear it. And if you want to dive in, my first question is really like broad, but it's just like, who is this song about? And like, is it about like Maddie Ross, your wife? Is it about your dogs? Is it about everybody, nobody?
Yeah, you know, I think that this song is like one of the more fictional songs on the album, and like I just was thinking about like that whole thing of like being so like crush worthy that like someone could be like stepping on your neck and you're like, I love you, you know, like just like being in the position of like puppy dog like obsession, despite maybe someone choosing to like completely ignore you, play hard to get or whatever. But Maddie Ross is famously does not play hard to get.
Oh, so I love that.
It's not really about like I don't think it's really about like I don't think I had a target in mind there, but I just had like that sort of like naivete of like crush obsession, like kind of to a dramatic, almost like cringy level of like, you know, reaction to someone kind of like dangling attention in front of your face and then taking it away, you know?
So like a bit more of like character work in terms of like the narrative of this song, like making yourself a character or, you know, first person character, and then the object of your undying love is also potentially fictional.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I don't think that I really was getting at it from like a particularly it as opposed to other songs on the record. It wasn't very like diary entry, you know. It was more concept of like I wanted to do something that had that like shaker, like fast groove thing.
Yeah,
and that's also like kind of how I got on the tip of asking Jason McGurr to play on it. Was I was thinking about Tegan and Sarah the Con, which he also played on. Nice. And there's some very interesting drum parts that he sort of like, you know, I guess obviously in collaboration with Tegan and Sarah, like had this like sort of very inventive drum style for that record. Yeah, so I had that sort of like groove in mind, like with like kind of just like it used to be like chugging guitars. I kind of changed that, but I wanted to be, you know, a gallop kind of.
Yeah, like 16th notes.
Yeah.
It's so like ear candy. Like it tingles your ears as soon as you put the song on. It's just like it's hot and it sounds so good.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, there's a lyric in, I think, the third verse where you mentioned, like, wait, I have it up. If you drill a hole through my hard drive, don't worry, I'm backed up and still I love you. Yeah. And I was wondering about how you save stuff. How do you back up stuff?
This is like, I have like an obsessive process for this because inevitably like hard drives break. And I just, you know, I think that like every producer or engineer has like sort of had this happen where you just like lose a day or more of work and you're just like
heartbreaking.
Yeah, it just sucks. And it's like, you know, like I think everyone who does this has been like standing in line at, there's a place called Melrose Mac out here, or like I'm sure there's a similar New York spot where you're just like, can you rescue any amount of data off this drive that just like basically exploded? It's just, it's a horrible feeling, and like it's happened to the best of us. I have like, well, you know, this, I actually have to re-up on this. I haven't used it as frequently as I used to, but I had this thing called Backblaze for a while, which had like online copies of everything, and it was just like running in the background at all times, and you can like assign a certain amount of hard drives to it. But then also at the end of every day, or even just like on a lunch break, if we've done a lot before that point, like I have like a clone drive of everything, and I use this program called ChronoSync, which just like, does the like synchronization and deletions in a way that is like healthy for the hard drives and stuff. And cool. Yeah, I just have like an obsessive process of that, because like the worst feeling of all time is somebody being like, do you have that session we did like 4 years ago? Like, I kind of like the original vocal take. And you're like, oh no, like did, all of that is long gone. So for that reason, it's good to have sort of like a copy, and sort of like emergency situations or situations where, I don't know, like I'm always paranoid of like, if I leave, like when I travel, I put like my backup drive in my checked bag and then have my hard drive with me in my backpack. And so it's like, if all of the suitcases fall out of the bottom of the plane, like I'll have a copy of, like
it happens.
Yeah, it could happen.
It could. Yeah, it could. Well, also, so it sounds like you do physical and like a duplicate, and then also cloud-based stuff?
Yeah. The cloud-based stuff is like more for like my computer drive, like, so I can like, if my like laptop exploded, then I could theoretically, get a new laptop and like just download the entire mirror of that laptop.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
I love that question, because it's like, that is like shop talk that should be more talked about.
Yeah, and also I think like, I don't know, like I'm not so good at creating duplicates of things. At this point, I'm kind of like, it's on Dropbox. But like, if you take your own stuff seriously, a client's work, hopefully you're taking that seriously. And I feel like a part of respecting their actual art and what they've made and what you've made together is just taking that extra moment to back it up, because, shit happens.
Shit happens. That is so true.
It happens. Let's see. Just talking about like the guitar sounds, I'm wondering, I could have asked you this on the last song too, but like, how'd you get the sounds between like what guitars were you using? If you remember amps or mics or like mic pre's or anything else, like plugins of any sort of compressors?
Yeah, I think like some of these guitar sounds I actually like was never able to get right, specifically in the choruses. I think I kind of like, there is something I still want, I think, from that chorus every time it happens, and I don't know if I got to like where I wanted to with it, but I do think the verse guitars ended up being pretty special, and what it is like a guitar, an electric guitar, not overdriven but boosted to the amp, so I'm kind of getting like spanky amp breakup a little bit, and like driving into that really hard, but making it also feel kind of like percussive, and like you hear a lot of like I wanted to hear like string sound a lot. So I ended up doubling it with an acoustic guitar. So it's kind of like an electric and acoustic acting as one. And it like, I felt like that blend ended up being like really awesome in the verses, and like really accomplishing of like how I wanted that song to feel. And then,
have a quick question.
Yes.
If I can sort of interrupt with a question. On that note of like getting guitar tones where you can hear like some pick attack against a string for like percussive purposes, do you know other ways in which people do that? Because I feel like I've heard stuff where it sounds like it's just one guitar, but I'm like, it almost sounds like they mic'd the room or something nearby and just and then had like an amp. The amp is like off in a different room, so they can get that too.
Totally.
Like, have you ever done anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll mic guitar strings, even on an electric guitar, if that is like, if that's the sound you want.
Yeah.
Or like
how common that is.
I think it's I hear it pretty often on like records that are in our space, especially. And and like a lot of like stuff where it's like, sometimes it's just like, if it's like more band in a room kind of record, sometimes you get that anyway from like just room mics being about, and like, so I feel like sometimes it's like a room pickup thing, and sometimes it's people being like, I want it to sound like guitar strings, But yeah, I mean, I kind of like, I guess with this, I didn't mic the electric guitar. There wasn't really room mic happening on that part, but I did want that, and so I just like took the most like percussive, like non-resonant acoustic guitar that I could make, and doubled it.
Yeah. Where did you record this song? Was it like one space or several?
It was a few. I did a lot of stuff at home for it. I did the drums at Bear Creek with Jason. I think the bass is demo bass, or maybe I replayed it, but I had Zach play it, and then again sort of was just like, the demo is a little bit more, like, it benefited from like my sort of like worse bass playing, and that bass is like the melody, you know, in the verses especially.
Yeah, it's a super cool bass. Like, it's up really high on the neck, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Actually, I guess it's kind of like that in some of the choruses too. But yeah, it was like I had Zach play it down, and he played it great. But then I was kind of like, there was something charming about me kind of barely being able to play it right.
Yeah.
And I did some stuff at Congleton Studio in Echo Park. We did a lot of the like sort of synths and like plucky fun things. And we talked about arrangement a lot, because it used to just be like two guitars each playing a single note, like ding 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 ding, like that kind of thing.
Stroke style.
Yeah, exactly. And it just made the song feel so boring. And he and I tried a few things, and then I got rid of that, and then I put the eighth notes back, and then I had the same problem, and I got rid of that again, and then I like kind of found this happy medium with like a new, like the sort of dialogue between the chords and the single note thing.
Yeah, because there's like a melody. It's like kind of like, I don't know if it's that repetitive, but like that's a really fun little melody that.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of became like this nice like dueling thing almost.
That's so cool. And how about like the rest of the record? Like, was it all like, I know you did drums in Bear Creek, but is this like largely a in your home made record, or would you say you've been to like a lot of studios because of this record?
You know, did something?
I think I lost you there for a sec, but you're okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Can you hear me now?
Other than that, yes, I got you. Am I good?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, other than Bear Creek and Congleton Studio, which is just fitted with he has everything, literally. A lot of it was home. I think I went into 64 Sound to do another like round of drums for some stuff that I either just didn't have written in time for Bear Creek or had changed significantly, or didn't get it right the first time.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah.
That happens.
That's it.
Nice. That's cool. Okay, and then I had a quick question about the synths that you mentioned. In terms of like recording them, was that always something? Because I feel like a lot of people like kind of go in the end in like more guitar centric music have some days afterwards where they lay in keys to be like this like tertiary like C tier sort of atmospheric thing. Was that like how you approached it, or did you kind of work on the song or the record like one song at a time?
You know, it's a little of both. Like, I feel like I need to get everything to like a certain level, and sometimes keys come in earlier or later, sort of depending on what the song is already doing.
Yeah.
And then I've found that it's easiest for me to attack one song at a time, like once it gets to sort of like the basics are recorded. Then I'm like, okay, I just need to produce this up to the end and get it done in a day or 2 days or whatever. Instead of just like saying like today's keys day and then opening everything up one at a time. I sort of like lose my focus, and I feel like I get less creative, and I just start laying in like the same kind of things for everything.
Yeah, totally.
As opposed to just being like, okay, here's the song I Would Like Still Love You. It has drums, bass, and like rhythm guitar right now. And now I'm just going to like go all the way to the end. Vocals, background vocals, keys, more guitars, percussion, whatever, until it like feels done enough, and then maybe open it one more day and just make sure there's nothing crazy happening.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kind of just thinking like for each song, what is this song need?
Exactly.
Specifically, which is it sounds like a good way to do it. Does that feel like a good place to maybe end this
That's
call?
Great.
Okay, cool. Sweet.
Another episode.
Yeah, another episode. Down the hatch. Every day is a blessing. To quote, I would like still love you. I agree in a literal sense. Yeah, thanks so much for doing this.
Allie.
And I'll talk to you soon.